Hi guys, this is Tablet-News.com and I'm here with the Evolio X6. This is a phablet. This is a 5.5-inch phablet with an octa-core processor inside, and it first started as rumors and leaks back in February this year. It was released finally in March, and it's a dual SIM device with a big screen and a pretty good price. The price tag of this model is $425, and in case you're wondering, it's actually a rebranded LTJ X3 handset that probably comes from Asia. You already saw its unboxing. It has a very slim box. It doesn't come with headphones bundled, and today I'm going to review the X6 from Evolio. So let's get to the design. This model is actually quite slim for a 5.5-incher. It measures 7.8 millimeters in thickness. So yes, it's thin, and it weighs 180 grams, which is kind of a lot, but for this diagonal, I'll take it. The design is actually quite good, quite elegant, looks a bit like a bigger iPhone 5C, if you want. And we got a glossy and plasticky case right here, with the bezel being reasonably small, as you can see right here, and the grip is quite good. I was expecting a glossy and plasticky device to slip from my hand, but the form factor makes it stay in my hand quite good. We have a metallic ring that goes all around it. You can see it shining in here, and we also have metallic buttons with very good feedback on the side. The design is solid. It looks like a kind of device that can withstand a drop, but not many drops, just one or two. Okay, so now let's check out the sides design. At the top we have the audio jack right here. We also have a small metal key inserted in it. You saw it in the unboxing. That was actually the key used to remove the SIM card slot here. It's actually a double SIM card slot. Once you pull it out, you see two SIM card slots, a micro SIM and a nano SIM. Okay, so at the top only the audio jack. At the bottom we have the micro USB port with two screws near it and what look like two pair of speaker holes. This one is the speaker actually. This one is only for aesthetic purposes, so only one speaker here and aesthetic here, probably hiding a microphone and things like that. Okay, we move even further. On the left side, as I said, the dual SIM slots paired in a single tray, and on the right side we have the on-off button and volume buttons, both with good feedback. At the back we find the small camera and very small dual LED flash plus a microphone hole here. At the front we got the front camera, we got the earpiece, we got some sensors here, and we got capacitive buttons that actually look very hot. They're here. We got a home button that if Apple decides to make capacitive buttons at some point, they will look something like this. They're very modern, they're dotted, and they look quite nice. I have to say these are the best looking capacitive buttons I've ever seen so far. Overall, the design is quite appealing for a device that goes for $425, and it has an octa-core CPU and a big screen. This is more like a mini tablet than a phone if you really want a design comparison. On the hardware side, well, we've got here an IPS Full HD screen. This one is a 5.5-incher with Gorilla Glass 2 protection, and the processor inside this device, well, this one is an octa-core MediaTek. It's the MT6592 clocked at 1.7 GHz. The GPU here is the Mali 450 MP4. And the storage is 16 GB. There is no micro SD card slot here, and the RAM is 2 GB. At the back we have a 30 megapixel camera, and up front an 8 megapixel camera, good for selfies. On the connectivity side, well, we got GPS, Bluetooth, FM radio, micro USB, 3G and NFC. And I'm telling you about NFC because I saw it listed in here, and we probably have it included in the connectivity area as well. So here it is, NFC. Okay, if you're interested in SAR levels, they're 0.303 watt per kilogram. So if that matters to you, that's the SAR level. In the section called and others, we have an accelerometer available here, a digital compass, G sensor, light sensor, proximity sensor, and finally we get to the battery, which is a 3150 mAh unit. And in our test, this battery provided about 5 hours and 37 minutes. Here we go. As you can see, 5 hours, 37 minutes and 34 seconds of continuous HD playback with Wi-Fi on and brightness at 50%, which is a bit underwhelming for such a huge device. The battery is weak, and also the charging takes about 3 hours and 15 minutes, which is also a lot. If you go to the settings area, you obviously find some battery options. We got CPU power saving mode that you can press here in order to limit the maximum CPU performance and conserve battery life, and also lower the device temperature, which is important because this one tends to overheat a little bit. So overall the battery is quite weak, only 5 hours and 37 minutes of playback, which is kind of disappointing for a capacity that was initially big, 3150 mAh. Okay, as I said, we have no headphones bundled here, so if you want to test the audio, I'm going to resort to the speaker right here. So let's actually play a song. This is the speaker in case. Okay, enough about the playback. I should say that this is the stock player and it supports FLAC files, MP3, OGG, WMA and WAV files. We played with the equalizer just a little bit earlier. You're seeing it right here. As I said, pretty much stock interface, and it includes stuff like let's see, we got bass boost, 3D effects, and we also have various presets here like normal, classical, dance, flat, folk, heavy metal and hip hop, but you already know those from other players. The volume is quite good, it's a pretty loud device, the sound is crisp, it's clear, and frankly speaking, the bass is not that good. I was expecting just a little bit more bass and more punch from this device. Once again, only the one on the right is the speaker. There are no headphones bundled here, but who doesn't have headphones nowadays? So overall the audio is good. We also have FM radio available here, but you need headphones, and the FM radio app allows you to record stuff and output through speaker. You can go in the settings again to find some nifty stuff, audio profiles, and here you can use this option, an audio enhancer for earphones, and this one a volume booster for the speaker. They cannot actually be felt, but it's nice to have them there. So overall the audio is pretty okay on this device. Now moving on to the video, we got a video player here named aptly Video Player. This one is a 5.5 inch screen, IPS, with a resolution of 1920 over 1080 pixels, and this video player can play AV files, FLV, MKV, MP4 and WMV. So let's check out the test video here. Here we go. We got vivid colors, slightly oversaturated. This is an IPS. The screen is pretty bright, so brightness is not a problem. Wide viewing angles, pretty good, as usual for an IPS. So this is a good display, and I have to say that when you're watching video, the audio is surprisingly good. I have to say that the pixels are of the RGB stripe kind, and we also did some tests with a lux meter and a microscope. Here we go. These are the pixels that I was talking about, the pixels of the screen, RGB stripe, and our lux meter has shown the value of 337 lux units on white. This is about 30 lux units less than the Xperia Z2, which is a compliment for this model. This is a good display, too bad it uses up so much battery that it drains it. Okay, so no objection in the area of the screen, really nothing to object here. And if you access the option area, you'll see that we have a special option called Clear Motion that enhances the video fluency, and also we have something called the breath light. This basically allows the device's on-off button to light up while it's off, like a person breathing. It's sort of like a nice thing. It actually makes you feel that you have a notification on, but it's just a gimmick to make it look cuter while it's in standby mode. Another feature here, it's Smart Wake. And this one is a collection of gestures. We can double tap to wake the screen, draw up to unlock, and draw a C to wake the camera. So let's do all of them. Double tap to unlock. Let's try again. It worked finally. Draw up to unlock, and draw a C for the camera. Bit of lag, it recognized the sign, and that's about it. As far as the screen is concerned, you also saw those nice gestures from the smart wake area. I wish the drawing part would be faster and more intuitive. Once again, very good screen, very good audio for this price. Okay, so now we got to the camera area, and let me show the camera again. It's a 13 megapixel shooter with a dual LED flash, and the user interface is not stock, and it's kind of ugly, I have to be honest. Let me use our usual castle. Here we go. This is the ugly non-stock user interface. And now let's talk about it. On the left side we have the front camera option, we have the flash options and the settings that you can see here. And on the right side we have the shutter button, video capture button, gallery shortcut, and the capture modes. Okay, I have to say that you can do 4x zoom. A bit of a lag if you ask me, and a bit of focus problems, especially indoor. And there is a slight lag in this user interface, as you can see. It has a bit of ghosting, so to say, when you move it. Compare that to what the Xperias can do and their total lack of lag. Okay, now let's see what's in the settings area. So we got a lot of options. We got GPS location info, exposure with some options, color effects, also sepia, aqua, negative, blackboard and all that, scene modes, a lot of them, auto, night, sunset, party, portrait, landscape, theater, beach and all that, white balance options, many options here as well, image properties, sharpness, hue, saturation, brightness, contrast, all of them tweakable with 3 options, low, medium and high. Finally, anti-flicker, on auto on off 50 Hz or 60 Hz. Then we move over to the proper photo capture options. We have 0 shutter delay, voice capture, face detection, self timer, and continuous shot with 40 shots or 99 shots, as well as picture size. We got 13 megapixels in 4:3, 12 megapixels in 4:3, and we go to 16:9 in 9.5 megapixels. The ISO level goes up to 1600, you can leave it on automatic. And then we got the video options, EIS, microphone, audio mode, normal or meeting, time-lapse interval, some effects to play with here, and video quality. Although it's not specified here, fine should be Full HD, high should be 720p, and the rest don't exactly matter. Now let's go to the modes. So we got photo, which is a normal picture, HDR, panorama, MAV, which is a bit of a 3D image, ASD, which is automatic scene detection. So let's see what kind of scene we got here. It's sensing a portrait as far as I can see, and we got smile detection, motion tracking mode. Let's start motion tracking mode. So for example, if you move the fingers in front of the camera, it takes consecutive shots and animates them. So let's see if this happens. Let's try it again. Okay, so I'm guessing this time it's ready. Of course, it's not 100% foolproof, but you get the idea. That was the motion tracking capture. And finally, live photo mode, that I'm guessing offers you a more realistic viewfinder to take your pictures. I'm going to revert back to the normal photo mode. And now let's actually take a picture of this castle. Focus it well. Okay, so this is the 13 megapixel shot. Decent level of detail, inexpensive device, not very much noise, which is good news. So the camera is actually pretty decent. You'll see a pretty nifty comparison later on. We also have a gallery filled with shots for you. As usual, we're maniacs of taking pictures. We always take over 100 pictures of monuments, flowers, people and all that. We just saw a bit of lag. A lot of colors here, lots of flowers, we have panoramas, we have everything for you. So let's start off with this one. Keep in mind it was a very cloudy day. And by the way, this is an HDR sample, normal picture without HDR, and HDR picture, very white. We have another one for you. Once again, normal picture. Let's see it in landscape, this one. So normal picture, HDR picture, see the difference, quite huge. Okay, and we also have a panorama that I'm going to find soon. A bit of lag in the gallery for some reason. Let's try to find that big panorama. In the meantime, I got the 3D pics. Here we go, this is the panorama. There are two modes of viewing it, either like this or like this, like normal panorama. Reasonably detailed, not the most impressive I've seen, but still pretty good. We also have some macros, obviously involving flowers. There is a macro and there is the reverse of a macro. So there's this one where the flower is highlighted and the background is blurred, and we got this one where the background is highlighted and the flower in the forefront is blurred, which actually is kind of nice, so the macro works fine on this camera. We continue to check out the samples and we find here another attempt at a close-up shot. Very good level of detail. I like the fact that we get some realistic colors this time. I usually object to the cameras that create unrealistic images, but these ones are actually totally realistic. Sometimes the pictures get blurry out of nowhere, and that blurriness is totally unexplainable to me. For example, here, I don't know why this area is blurred. This is just a normal picture, probably a minor focusing problem. The level of detail is, as I said, decent, and I would compare this to a very good 8 megapixel camera, not a good 13 megapixel camera. It reminds me of the quality of the Galaxy S3, if you want a comparison, and let's actually see those 3D pictures I talked about earlier. So here we go. This is the 3D picture. At least that's what it tries to be. And other than that, the image tends to get a greenish hue if you're taking pictures using the flash indoors. Here it is. There is a slight bit of green applied after you use the flash in a dark situation to take a picture at night. This is a problem that was also common to a more famous camera, the one of the Xperia Z1 Compact. And the camera lag is back, by the way. Okay, so back to this camera. I would say that overall the pictures are okay for a cloudy day. We have a huge gallery of them yet again, and this is also a pretty good selfie camera. As I said, it has an 8 megapixel shooter here that does quite a good job, although you can actually compare it to the very good camera of the Evolio X1 Extreme that we reviewed recently. On the video side, sadly, this camera can only film in the 3GPP format, which is not my favorite format, not at all, actually the opposite. So I'm going to turn down the volume in order not to deafen you, and let's see a video. So video taken with this camera, 3GPP, Full HD, 30 frames per second, bitrate of 17 mega per second. It tends to make everything slightly whitish, the colors are vivid, the details are good, stabilization is poor, and focusing can be lost sometimes. As I said, there is a bit of a white layer of image on top of what you film, and I cannot explain that. I don't know where it comes from. Another sample of lag in the camera UI, and another video. Once again, not very good stabilization, not very good focus, and a white layer of paint, so to say, on top of the picture. It's a bit of a letdown when filming, especially with the 3GPP format that I really do not like. Overall, this is like a very good 8 megapixel camera. This is not like a good 13 megapixel camera, and you can actually pick one of the photos here, like this one, and edit it with usual options that you probably know from other devices, a bunch of filters to play with, bunch of frames, cropping, straightening, rotating mirror, contrast, shadows, vibrance, and all that, all the usual options. Okay, now let's go further. We finished with the camera. As I said, it would make an excellent 8 megapixel camera, a not so good 30 megapixel camera, so I guess I'm going to call it a 10 megapixel camera. That's what its behavior is. Now back in the gallery, let's discuss temperature. We took a thermometer and we saw that this device achieves 48.7 degrees Celsius, which is kind of high, After playing 15 minutes of the game Riptide GP2, the overheating takes place under the camera, about here somewhere, the left side under the camera, so this area here. And that's the area that overheats the worst, so keep that in mind. We're playing long sessions of game with high-end graphics. Well, on the software side we got Android 4.2.2. I would have liked KitKat, but that's that. Here we go, Android 4.2.2. It's the stock UI overall. Most of the widgets are stock, most of the apps are stock, aside from the camera app, obviously. Now let's check out the browser. So let's access Tablet-News.com. Here we go. It's not the fastest browser in the world, it's actually quite slow, but it does the job, and the keyboard you see here is quite comfy, especially on such a big screen. Let's actually see our website and open up a link in landscape this time. Here we go. Okay, enough with the web browsing. It's time for the benchmarks. It was very hard to me to decide what models to compare this device with, because it has an Octo-Core MediaTek processor inside, and I don't exactly test many Octo-Core devices. That's why I decided to compare it with a handset with a similar price, the HTC Desire 816, and for curiosity's sake, the HTC One from last year, 2013, for the sake of comparing it with the Snapdragon 600 and see if this Octo-Core can beat it or not. Okay, I'm going to start off with Quadrant. In Quadrant we scored 15,163 points. We beat the HTC Desire 816 by about 3,000 points. And we beat the HTC One from last year by about 3,000 points. Next up we got Antutu. Let's see where it is. Here we go. In Antutu we actually have a good score. It's 26,320. It beats the HTC Desire 816 by about 5,000 points, but the HTC One from last year beat us by about 2,000 points. Next up it's Nenamark. Here we go, 47.7 frames per second. This time we got beaten totally by the HTC One from last year with 61 frames per second. And we also have Volamo, where we scored 1983 points. Here we surprisingly beat the HTC One by about 500 points. And then probably the test that matters the most, this one is 3D Mark, very low score, 6,748. We saw the HTC One register almost double the points, at 11k points reached. Then we tested the browser. By the way, BrowserMark has just updated to a new version and it gave us a very low score of 800 points, which in comparison to the HTC One pales because it has 2200 to give us. I also tested the speed, 19 megapixel in download, 21 megapixel in upload, which is quite good and about the same performance as the HTC One from last year. Finally, we also played with GFX Bench, and the off-screen T-Rex test in 1080p gave us a very low score of 9.6 frames per second, which is lower than the 15.5 frames per second of the HTC Desire 816. I also messed around with SunSpider with a low score of 1110, pretty much the same score of the HTC One, so no difference here. Finally, Geekbench. Here we scored 430 in the single core test, which was beaten by the 500 points of the HTC One, and we scored 2377, which is higher than the 1500 HTC One because we actually have more cores and they run at a pretty good power. So overall, as far as the benchmarks go, we sit somewhere between the quad-core Snapdragon 400 and the famous Snapdragon 600 with this MediaTek Octa-Core, and I decided to do some gaming testing. This is actually a pretty good gaming device. The Octa-Core CPU will be good for many years to come. And the game Riptide GP2 seems to load faster than on many other devices, and it also looks pretty hot. We got flawless gaming here. I'm willing to bet with anyone that this game and this handset can run any modern game without a hassle. And the graphics look amazing. This is Riptide GP2, the same game I used to test the temperature with. Notice the water sprinkling. Of course, it can also run Asphalt 8 without problems. In games like The Dark Knight, probably Captain America as well, and many other titles. Okay, so you're convinced about that. Let's quit the event and go further. This device, as I said, it's an excellent gaming device because it has an octa-core CPU, a pretty good GPU, and its power is somewhere close to the Snapdragon 600, which is high praise. This is a dual SIM device with a nano SIM and a micro SIM. The call quality is good, and we have special settings for SIM management. You can actually see the two SIMs here at the top, and you can use them without a problem anytime you want. So you can select voice call for one SIM, video call for the other if you want, messaging, data connection, roaming, contact binding, and that's about all the dual SIM action you get. Okay, so if you press the home button, you'll see the multitasking area where you can swipe up to close them. Nothing fancy here. As I said, the stock interface is here. This is the notification area with the shortcuts and the shortcut to the settings area. And in the settings area, I found the developer options enabled with a lot of stuff to play with on this device. If you don't know what you're doing, you shouldn't play around in this area because you may break your device. Okay, we've reached that part of the review where we check out the pre-installed apps. There is no bloatware here, only useful apps. We have stuff like the calculator, pretty basic, calendar, also basic, and we got desktop wallpapers, live wallpapers and lock screen wallpaper, nothing fancy here. Drive, Facebook, a file manager, FM radio, gallery, Gmail obviously, Instagram is also pre-installed. We got Google Maps, which I frankly didn't use up until now, but I'm guessing it works just fine. Let's actually try to locate us. It's interesting because earlier I enabled the location access and now I see it turned off. It found me reasonably fast. This is the satellite view of the area. So Google Maps is working just fine on this device. We got Movie Studio if you want to do some video editing. We got news and weather, Norton Mobile. It comes bundled with the device if you want an anti-theft and anti-malware solution. This is Norton Mobile Security. That's loading right now. You can sign in or sign up. You can handle that later, I guess. Anyway, you have to use a code. The device is bundled with a code. You saw it in the unboxing. I obviously cannot show it to you, but it's a pretty nice protection against viruses, trojans and all that. It scans the apps to download. Next up, we have the Play Store. We have Romanian press application, and we have See Now that allows you to watch movies, TV shows and all that on your device, tablet and such things. It tests your device for compatibility. And this is the interface you can get, the TV shows and TV channels that are available here. Other apps available on this device, aside from See Now, we have a bunch of themes to apply. Nothing fancy, and we also have To Do that allows you to create a to-do list with an expiry date. And finally, we have a torch that speaks for itself. And we got WhatsApp, the famous communication application that was bought by Facebook not so long ago. Okay, time for the verdict for the pros and cons. On the pro side, good gaming on this device, pretty good audio and a pretty good display, I have to say. There's no bloatware, there's no lag aside from the inexplicable lag of the gallery sometimes. We got a nano SIM and a micro SIM, so if you have both, you're lucky, you can insert them both here. We have a big display, but still a slim device. As you can see, less than 8mm. The camera takes some nice pictures for this price, and I actually quite fancy this design. I quite like it. It's pretty well made. It's also affordable, $425. It has an octa-core CPU, Norton Mobile bundled, and these are all the pluses of this model. On the con side, we don't have a micro SD card slot. There's a slight bit of overheating here. We have a weak battery, just 5 hours of playback, pretty weak filming in 3GP, and the camera UI feels ugly and old. We only have Android 4.2 here, although I wanted KitKat, and the base is not so good, plus the benchmarks aren't really impressive compared to what the CPU can do. Okay, so the grades, I'm going to give this device a 9.4 out of 10 for the design, because I really like it. For the hardware, a 9.15 out of 10. Here it lost points, especially for the battery, and the operating system and user interface get from us a 9.2 out of 10. So the average is 9.25 out of 10 for the Evolio X6. This is a good gaming device, good selfie device, and a good movie watching device. Okay, I would see this bought by a college boy or a student or stuff like that, because it's reasonably affordable and high powered for games and movies. That is from Tablet-News.com. 9.25 out of 10 for the Evolio X6. Bye bye.